You are listening to the Metal Command Podcast.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Metal Command Podcast. Tony here with you, and today I am here to bring you an interview with myself and guitar player Dean Wells from the band Teramaze. Teramaze, of course, is a progressive heavy metal band from Australia, and they have a new album out called Eli, A Wonderful Fall from Grace, which I think is excellent and definitely one of the top 2 or 3 albums they have ever done. So with that being said, this is the interview with myself and Dean Wells from Teramaze. If you like what you see in here, of course, you can follow the show on Facebook, or you can check out the show and subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. With that said, here's the interview with myself and Dean Wells from Teramaze. Welcome back to the Metal Command Show, everybody. I have Dean Wells, guitar player from Teramaze, as everybody knows from me posting on the site. And of course, in the past, Dean has been on my show, and I've always been a very big fan of his music since I got into the band almost 10 years ago now. It feels like it's forever ago, but definitely started checking you guys out when I first heard the album Anhedonia. And so a lot of the music has changed a lot in a very good way since that record. So it's great to have you back on, man, and really liking this new album.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, appreciate that. So, yeah.
So let's talk about this record. So I saw a post, I'm going to start this off, where you almost deleted it. and talk about that, because I think this album is probably, in my opinion, one of the better ones that you've put out, you know, over the course of this band's existence.
It's absolutely true. Usually what happens, I suppose, with me, because I'm working on it every day, from the writing to the production to the mixing to the mastering, and then the videos, and then everything that comes with it. I mean, the guys help out a bit, but when it comes to the production, I'm doing that. And after like 20 months from when we started writing it to when it was actually finished, I never want to hear it again, sort of thing. It kind of happens pretty much with every album, because it's what happens these days is, you know, you sort of got to do everything yourself. And I do, you know, I produce other bands and stuff. So, but I just didn't like the album. It's really weird. Like, how can I explain it? Even though I wrote the song, part of me was like, and I've been trying to figure out why, because I was very much like, I'd rather just delete it, because we've got 20 other songs I've got that sound nothing like this album. And I suppose, I'm not even trying to sound arrogant, it's like the style of the band's changed a lot. And the style of what we write right now is not what Eli kind of is. As much as it might sound sort of fresh, to me, I had to kind of go back. The idea of it was I had to go back in my head to go, well, I didn't want it to sound like Her Halo, but I kind of did, if that makes sense. I wanted that to feel like it was part of I wanted it to feel like it was the start of the story, so it had to feel somewhat like Her Halo. And I suppose when we did Sorella, which was only a couple of years ago, a 26-minute song was kind of taxing on ideas. So, and with Sorella, it was almost, we were using little nuggets and little riffs and stuff from Her Halo, where Eli was just a whole brand new thing. And I suppose even part of the fantasy of it, the story part of it, is not something that we do a lot. So it's a completely different headspace to kind of go, I need this to, like, I wanted to do the best I could for the story, where usually the difference is any song that's not from, say, Her Halo or Sorella, I'm just writing how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if I'm listening to something at the time, it could be anything from whatever, like Slipknot or Dream Theater. I'm just writing stuff that makes me feel, you know, happy, like, or whatever, you know what I mean? But Eli had to change the way that I felt and went, this has to make sense to the story. And I suppose in the end, I worked so hard on it that I was exhausted by the sound of it. Almost like the best way I tried to explain it to someone without sounding like arrogant or anything was like, if you've ever been drunk on a certain drink, a whiskey or a beer, and you were sick, you can never smell that again. Mm-hmm. And when you do, you're like, get it away from me. That's exactly how I felt at the end of the album. I couldn't hear it again. I was just like, oh, just get this album away from me. Like, I'm proud of it, but it's like for me to hear it, it's taken me a little bit to kind of want to hear it again, because I feel like I almost overdid it. Probably not almost. I think I did, as in I didn't really take many breaks from it. I mean, we went to Europe. If we didn't go to Europe and play, I'll guarantee you I was going to delete it. I just didn't want to hear it. I kind of just didn't want to hear it, and I kind of didn't want to put it out because I was like, well, it makes me feel sick. And really, like, we're the only judge of our music. Like, if we like it, we'll release it. If we don't, we're not going to, because it's, you know, it's like, you know, it's our life. It's like, this is what we want to put out, or this is not what we want to put out. And for me, I was like, I don't want anyone to hear this, because it's like, I don't want them to feel the way I'm feeling. It's kind of strange, man. But it was that, like, oh, don't drink that drink again. Like, I was sick, but, you know, no one else feels like that, just you.
Right.
So I'm sort of glad you asked that, because we put that up. And it was like, the guys still think it's sort of funny. But it happens a little bit every album, but this one just felt like it was really like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it ever again. Actually, that's how I got. Like, I don't play it, and now we're relearning the songs to play live, and I'm like, oh, this is a kind of cool song. I've had a bit of a break from it.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, because, you know, it's kind of another analogy would be, let's say the last thing you ate before you got really sick, like the flu or something like that, and then it's hard to, like, want to go back and eat that again or drink that again. You know, with a record, and I've been there before, if you are somebody that's actively participating in it nonstop, and you are nonstop going through track by track, mixing an album, you know, you're composing the songs, you're mixing the record, and then you're doing test mixes. Do I like these levels? Do I not? And then you're going through that nonstop, and all you're doing is living and breathing that record. And if you're spending 20 months on it, that's a lot, and so many hours on this thing. Even if you have, you know, producing other bands, right? And you get a little bit of a break, you're still getting back into that album again. And it's funny you mentioned what you did, because when I think of what you just said, you know, when you go in and you start, you know, mixing your own album or participating in producing an album, the thing that's crazy about it is you might think, oh, I was only in this room for an hour. Then you look and you've been in there for like 7 hours. And so I totally get where you were coming from. But at the same time, I got to be honest with you. I followed your music for quite a long time, and this is one of the better albums you've put out. I mean, and in all honesty, it's probably one of my top 2 or 3 albums that you've done. In a lot of ways, you know, like when I'll give you an example. A favorite song of mine on here is "Standing Ovation." I thought that song was just, you know, like in the very beginning, you kind of had this prog, almost this like distorted Deep Purple, you know, keyboard vibe in the beginning, but it almost sounds like something like a continuation of Her Halo. That was like the biggest thing that I noticed about that track when I was listening to this record. And then the And then the last song on the album, which is probably my favorite one, 13-minute epic at the end, I thought was awesome. And I think when you get into it, you think to yourself, you get so burned out by it, but then you get people like myself and others that have heard it for the first time.
Yeah,
And you don't think that. But I thought the post was funny because the reason I brought it up is I can relate to it. Probably the best thing.
Yeah, it's a, I don't know, maybe it's just an artist thing, and maybe part of it is that we've released like 5 albums or something in the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe a slight bit of burnout in there.